Hi YouTube! Welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to run you guys through why we chose the Ford Transit for our campervan project.
We are Ida and Tobias, and we love adventures. Those adventures usually include a pair of hiking boots, a couple of bikes, and maybe a pair of skis. And now we have just bought ourselves a van, and we are converting this van into the ultimate adventure campervan.
We had a couple of kind of prerequisites. The first one was that we wanted to be able to stand inside the car. The second one was that we didn't want it to be more than 6 meters long, but we wanted it to be almost 6 meters long. So therefore, we ended up with 3 different models. We ended up with the Fiat Ducato, and the Fiat Ducato is actually the same as the Ram Promaster, which you can't get a hold of here in Europe. But it's also the same as the Citroen Relay and the Peugeot Jumper. The second model that we were considering was the Mercedes Sprinter, which is actually the same as the Volkswagen Crafter. And the third model we considered was the Ford Transit. And during this summer, we rented the Fiat Ducato and really got to try it out.
It's wider, of course, than a normal car, but you don't really feel neither the length nor the width when you are driving. It's a quite comfortable car to drive. It feels very safe. It has very good suspension, so it feels okay. The only thing personally I don't like is the way it kind of acts when it's in turns. I feel like it's kind of pulling a little bit too much out of the turn, feeling that the car is going to tip instead of the car actually leaning into the turn. Also, there's no leg room here, so I can't really stretch my legs. You also have this very laid-back driving position, which again, personally, I'm not a fan. I like a driving style where I'm more straightening my back, leaning forward, the wheel is a bit straighter, I can be a bit quicker when I drive. That's more my personal driving style.
Based on our experiences with the Fiat Ducato this summer and our prerequisite, we narrowed it down to 2 different models. The first one being the Mercedes Sprinter and the second one being the Ford Transit. There were a couple of things that we really liked about the Fiat Ducato. First off, it was the length. It was just below 6 meters. This means that it's a little bit easier to maneuver on those small roads here in Norway. In addition, you can actually get it on the ferry and pay the same price as a smaller, like a normal car. At least you can do that here in Norway. The width as well, it was kind of perfect. It was about 205 wide, something like that, same as the Transit.
So here we have the Ford Transit and here we have the Fiat Ducato. Looks quite similar. What do you think?
I know, they look pretty much the same, don't they?
I think so. 195, something like that.
It's supposed to be 205.
Okay. It's about the same. 195 here as well.
This means that you can actually sleep side to side, which would allow us to maximize the space of the car. And the third one was the height. The height was important for us so that we can have extra storage space on top. And a little bonus, the walls were quite straight, which would mean that it maybe would be easier to build inside the car.
We wanted a car that was really sturdy, that was good to drive, really high safety, and had really good kind of reputation. So that's why we kind of ended up with a Ford or a Mercedes. So it's a Mercedes Sprinter or a Ford Transit. The Mercedes Sprinters are quite expensive. So in Norway here, the cars are really expensive, a lot more expensive than they are other places around the world. So you would, for our price range, we would get a car that maybe ran like 200,000-300,000 kilometers, which we think is a bit too far, and the car would also be kind of old. And we are not car mechanics, so we wanted a car that was a bit newer, that we knew that we could rely on 100%. So that's kind of how we ended up with this Ford Transit. Ford has a really good rumor. The cars are super nice to drive, including this one. It doesn't feel like a huge van. It feels like, it feels like a little bit bigger than a normal car, but it still feels kind of nice to drive. To Norwegian standards, this car actually has a lot of horsepower. So it has 170 horsepower, but with a Sprinter, we'd maybe get like 130, 140, which we think is a little bit too little based on what we're going to use this car for. Some of the other reasons why we chose the Ford Transit over the Sprinter is because the Ford Transit, it's a little bit easier to get by if you're traveling and you have problems with your engine or other parts of the car. There's a bit more places where they actually can fix it, and the parts are a little bit cheaper than the Mercedes parts. That was the short story on how we ended up with this van, this Ford Transit. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It would help us a lot. And if you want to continue watching our project here, converting this into the ultimate adventure camper van, then subscribe to our channel. We would appreciate it a lot. See you soon.
It's made for us!